Hello students, today we are going to learn a new topic from our supplementary reader, Footprints Without Feet. Of course, the name of the lesson is also Footprints Without Feet by H.G. Wells. Let us know a little bit about the author. H.G. Wells. In full, Herbert George Wells was born on 21st September 1866 and died on August 13, 1946. He was a famous English author and well known for his science fiction. Fiction means novels. So he is considered as the father of science fiction. Some of his great works are The Time Machine, The War of the Worlds, and The Invisible Man. In all his writings, he highlighted how the scientific discoveries would harm the society if the scientist lacks morality. Before reading the story, let us have a brief summary of the lesson. This is a funny story of an eccentric scientist. He was a genius but lawless at the same time. He discovered a drug that could make man invisible and transparent. He tried it on himself. He was now transparent but also solid like glass. He set fire to landlord's house. In order to go unnoticed, he took off all his clothes. In chill winter, he became a naked, homeless wanderer. He first enters a London store to get warm clothes and food. Then he gets into a shop that sold makeup materials for the theatre. He attacked the shopper and robbed him of all his cash. He moved off to a village and stayed in an inn. When he ran out of cash, he robbed a clergyman. Remaining unseen, he hit the landlady and drove her out of the room. Finally, he rained blows on the constable and his helpers. He finally escaped again. The scientist thus behaves like a ruthless joker and criminal. He abuses the power gained from his experiment. He creates chaos and disorder. He behaves irresponsibly. A scientist ought to be law-abiding and constructive instead of destructive to the society. Before starting the lesson, let us have a small activity. That is, matching the name of the scientists with their discoveries or the inventions. Now I am going to show the pictures of a few scientists along with their discoveries. Only thing is that you have to match the scientist and his discovery. Let us move to the next slide. Here we can see the scientists like Einstein, Newton, Thomas Alva Edison, Graham Bell, Wright brothers, Sir C.V. Raman. In the middle you can see their discoveries are the inventions. First one, gravitational force. E is equal to mc square. Scattering of light. Bulb, telephone and aeroplane. You can take 2 minutes time and can match the name of the scientists with their discoveries. Later we can see whether your answers are right or wrong. Shall we move to the next slide? Here comes the correct answers. Einstein, E is equal to mc square. Newton, gravitational force. Thomas Alva Edison, bulb. Graham Bell, telephone. Wright brothers, aeroplane. C.V. Raman, scattering of lights. Of course, because of all these scientists and their discoveries and their contributions to the society, today we are having lot many things in our life. Like bulb, telephone, of course nowadays we are having mobiles, then aeroplanes, then based on the theory E is equal to mc square, gravitational force, scattering of light. There are so many discoveries and also the inventions. Without these scientists, we could not imagine our present life or the science and technology, because their contribution is a lot to the society. These scientists strived hard in their lives and they carried out experiments after experiments to prove something. And ultimately, they contributed all their hard work for the betterment of the society. But in the story, okay, that is Footprints Without Feet, we are going to learn about a scientist who was also a brilliant, who was also a hard-working person like all these scientists, but there is a difference between these and the scientist. Let us see how the scientist in our lesson is different from these scientists. About Griffin. So who was this Griffin in the story? Griffin was a scientist. He carried out experiments after experiments like many of our scientists, and he proved that human body could become invisible. Of course, it was a great achievement on the part of the scientist. But only thing is that instead of contributing his discovery to the betterment of the society or welfare of the society, he started using his discovery for his own selfish benefits or the selfish deeds. From there, the story begins. The story is full of his adventures and also misbehaviors towards the people and the society, and how he troubled them, and again how he became a threat to the society. Let us see the story in detail. In the beginning of the story, the two boys, okay, they were so surprised, they were in confusion, that is, they were bewildered because they could see the fresh muddy imprints, that is marks of a pair of bare feet on the steps of a house in the middle of the London city. You may think what was surprise in this. The thing is that the children could see only the footmarks but not the person. So they started following that footmarks one by one until they become fainter and fainter and ultimately disappeared. So now they started thinking what that invisible man was doing with his bare feet on the steps of a house, that too in the middle of the London city. They did not understand. It became a great mystery to the children. The reason for the mystery. So what was the reason behind this mystery? How it was possible for them to see only the footmarks but not the person? The reason was very simple. The two boys had been following a scientist, that is our Griffin, who swallowed his newly discovered drug and became invisible. Okay, he could leave only his footmarks on the ground, but not his body was not seen by any other persons. Okay, so it was a great achievement of the scientist. Though he was a brilliant, but he was a lawless person. So let us see why he was a lawless person. One day, his landlord, that is owner of the house, disliked him and ejected him out of the house. That is, threw him out of the house. Maybe he did not like his behavior or his attitude, or he was carrying so many experiments after experiments, maybe spoiling the house, or he might have failed to give the rent in time. So we don't know the exact reason, but he disliked him and one day he threw him out of the house. Now Griffin became so angry. He wanted to take revenge against this landlord. So what did he do? He set fire to the house. Okay, in the picture you can see he set fire to the house and again he ran away from that place. Okay, now Griffin became a homeless wanderer. So he started roaming in the streets of the London city. That too without clothes, without money, and now he was a invisible person. The moment when he removes all his clothes, he used to become invisible, not seen by any other people, except leaving the muddy imprints as he walked after stepping into the mud. Now coming to the climatical conditions. So now he started roaming in the middle of the London city, not seen by anybody. Then what was the climatical conditions at that time is it was midwinter. He has chosen the bad time of the year because the cold was very severe. He could not do without clothes and the shelter. So he decided to step into one of the big London store for warmth without seen by anyone. So of course it was very easy for him to enter into the shop because he was an invisible man. So it was a closing time. Okay, all the assistants and the owner of that London store, they were ready to close the door, shut the door and was about to leave the place. So the moment when all the people left the London store, now this Griffin became so active. Okay, so how did he become active? So next at the London store, so next again he went and broke open the big boxes which were there in that store, and again he started taking out clothes, shoes and also wide brimmed hat and one of the overcoat also. The moment when he put on all these things, he became a visual man once again. Now he was feeling so hungry, so he decided to eat something. So there was a restaurant in the London store also. So next again he went there and he took out meat, coffee, had sweets and also wine without regarding the price. There is no need for him to pay the money for all these things. And ultimately he slept on a pile of quilts. Okay, everything went on very well up to this. So next day morning, suppose if this Griffin would have got up in the right time, so definitely he would have avoided some of the problems. But he did not do. Let us see what has happened afterwards. Next day morning, he could not get up in time. When he saw arrival of the assistants, he got panic and began to run. That is, he wanted to escape from the hands of the assistants. The moment when that assistants of that London store saw him, they thought that a robber had entered the shop and again they also started chasing him. Ultimately, in order to escape from the hands of the assistants, he began to remove the newly worn clothes or the newly found clothes one by one. In the picture, you can see how he started removing the hat, coat, his shirt and all. So once again he became a visible man, but again a homeless wanderer. Okay, let us have one more activity. Now you can take 4 minutes time. It is a group discussion. You can discuss or you can guess what this Griffin might have done after this. Okay, let us see then. What did he do? Once again, in the streets of London, he became a homeless wanderer. Of course, it was very easy for him to escape from the London store. But he started roaming like a homeless wanderer again, and now he decided to go to another place in London, that is the Drury Lane. So what is the specialty of this Drury Lane means we can see so many theatres in this Drury Lane. Next, at the Drury Lane in the theatrical company. So what do you mean by theatrical company? Theatrical company is one where one could get materials needed to play dramas or enact the skits. That is the makeup items. At theatrical company, Griffin decided to take not only the clothes, okay, to make himself warm, but he wanted few more things also that could cover or hide the empty space above his shoulder. So this time he wanted to cover his face also, because at London store some of the people and also the assistants had seen his face. So now he did not want to give any kind of the clue to the police to arrest him. So that's why he wanted to cover his face and roam in the London city. So he selected bandages, again dark glasses, false nose, bushy side whiskers and a large hat. So you can see in the picture how he was able to cover his entire face. Now nobody could recognize him, including the assistants and also the landlord. After this, again he had to come out of the theatrical company. So the moment when he want to escape from that theatrical company, again he has to do some other mischief, because he was not having sufficient amount to pay for all these materials. So what he did? So he callously attacked the shopkeeper. He came very slowly behind the shopkeeper and again he attacked him. Not only that, he even robbed him. Whatever money that he had kept inside the drawer, so he took everything and he escaped from the theatrical company once again. Now he rushed to the railway station and again he caught a train and he went to a place, okay, called Iping, a small village near London city. Okay, let us see what did he do there. There he decided to stay at an inn, that is a hotel in a countryside, that is a village. Then Mr. and Mrs. Halls were the owner of that hotel, but it was an unusual event and also suspicious. Let us see what was the unusual event and suspicious. Next, after reaching Iping, he booked 2 rooms in the inn, but the arrival of a guest during winter season was very much unusual, because only in other seasons people used to come and stay in that hotel. But Griffin, he came during the winter season and again he stayed in that hotel. Because of that thing, the people started talking about him, because apart from that he was having such a uncommon appearance also. So this made all the villagers to talk about this Griffin with lots of curiosity and also with lots of suspicious. Next, he told, even though this Mrs. Hall, that is the owner of the hotel, tried a lot in order to become friendly with this Griffin and wanted to gather little information about this Griffin, but with lots of irritation, he told her not to disturb in his work. He also told he met with an accident and again his main purpose of coming to the inn is to have loneliness. Okay, so when he told like this, again Mr. and Mrs. Hall decided to let him to stay in that hotel, though he was looking very eccentric, irritable and short-tempered. But this Griffin, so he had paid rent in advance, so that was sufficient for this Mr. and Mrs. Hall, because for them money was important. So when he had paid the rent in advance, they excused all his different types of attitudes. Okay, then again the stolen money did not last long. Of course, he robbed that owner of the theatrical company, and again he came and paid that amount towards the rent, and again he started living. After a few days, this stolen amount finished. So next again he admitted, or he told Mr. and Mrs. Hall that he was not having the ready cash, but he was expecting a check to be arrived at any moment. So he was waiting for the check. So again, in the picture you can see the format of the check. Okay, so this is the format of the check. But in the mind, he decided to do once again a mischievous thing. And this time he decided to rob somebody again in that IP. Let us see whom did he rob and how he was able to get the amount in order to pay towards the rent and also to lead a comfortable life in that IP, whether he stayed in the hotel or he vacated the rooms, or where did he go in the next period. Okay, thank you.